mergers and acquisitions are really terrible. They are not great for anybody other than the top brass that makes all of the money, right? So today we are going to talk about these large ass corporations getting into absolutely weird ass marriages because, no amount of profit is good enough for them.
Okay,
And
we're calling it
how,
marriage.
or mergers, whatever. Uh, and
Same
how
difference.
these, yeah, in corporate language, same difference. And how these have, the cases we are going to talk about, how these have led to people losing their jobs because of shaving out of all things, getting rid of like genuinely good beer, fully engineering the climate disaster we are in, and even directly causing people to die. Right? So we talk about terrible, terrible mergers and acquisitions and their terrible, terrible impact on the world. But because I'm not a finance bro, hopefully you will not feel like killing yourself while listening to me talk.
Are you guys excited for the trip? By the way, what was that fancy document that you sent, Ashmita?
It was beautiful, no?
It was so confusing.
What? What are
It
you
se-
talking about?
it seemed like a wedding invitation of sorts. Welcome to Sandy's trip, and
Ah,
Okay, context. One of my friends, he runs a really, really kick-ass travel company, actually. Someday we'll tell you about it when they have launched overall to the public. And he prepared this document. So we are planning a trip, and he prepared this document which had it's a really well made personal like personalized catalog of sorts, right?
I
And he
agree.
prepared that and he sent it. And you think it should have been just a list of properties instead of linking each property being linked to a particular place and, showing the pictures. I don't have to do any research. I can totally rely on him to do that. It's wonderful. And
थोड़ा
he also told me
बोलो
his
बोलो.
team actually his team actually sat down and listened to a couple of our episodes for quote unquote audience research.
कौन सा एपिसोड सुना?
I think last wala, NYT, as of the date of preparation of the document, the NYT bestsellers was the last one. They did not, they're Gen Z, they're young kids, right? So they, of course, did not listen to the whole thing. Difficult to keep their attention. But they were trying to figure out where we want to go. And I don't know, Prakhar, why your name is missing in that document, but it was supposed to be the three of
वेरी
us.
वेरी वेरी कन्वीनियंट. उनके हिसाब से मैं ऑलरेडी वहां पे हूँ, एडवेंचर कर रहा हूँ.
So that is also another balance that they wanted to keep. They were like, Ashmita and Sandy don't want any adventure. Um, and again, this friend of mine, he knows me very well. He's one of my closest friends. So he's like, I can tell you for sure, Ashmita will like legitimately never book from us again if we put her through adventure. And you, on the other hand, Prakhar, he was like, Prakhar wants adventure. So find something, some place where there's a possibility of both. Uh,
हाउ
and
डिड
it
यू
was,
उस उनको पता कैसे चला कि मेरे को एडवेंचर पसंद है?
I told him, right?
अरे नहीं बताना था ना.
No, but then you would over there you would get bored and then you will be like, यहाँ से कूदने चलते हैं
नहीं
और
नहीं, मैं ढूंढ
something.
लेता ना, कुछ मैं ढूंढ लेता.
Mm-hmm.
Impromptu plans.
Okay, we don't have forever. So speaking of annoying, horrible things, it's time to start my topic. Okay,
sure. That's
there's
a good foundation for all of your topics, Ashmita.
Yeah.
yeah, there's no other segue. Okay, now I want to show you something, and you're going to tell me if you know about this, okay? Because that's how I came across this topic. Like, that's how I saw. I mean, basically, something has been going on, and I received this in my email, right? And for those of you who are only listening, I'm showing the boys this announcement from Netflix saying that Netflix will acquire Warner Brothers. And I think, Sandy, you were also telling me about it.
Yeah.
Uh,
Bro,
So you all know
I
about
saw
this,
this.
right?
I saw this and I couldn't believe this. And the way it was handled. You talk about it, then we'll discuss the other
No, no,
thing. Go
no,
ahead.
no. Go ahead, go ahead. The way it was handled.
I saw a picture of the very famous that water tank Warner Brothers image, and I think they didn't even wait for a minute to change the branding. I think they painted N, the famous Netflix logo, on top of it, even without removing the Warner Brothers logo. It felt very insulting for to me. I don't know how the marketing team did
Is it? Are
thought
you
about it.
sure that was official?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. They did. I'll show you a picture. Wait.
Ah, okay. I did
For
not
those
know
of you who
they
don't
you
know,
know.
Prakhar is one of the Warner brothers. That's why he felt it insulting.
Yeah, I don't give a fuck about how insulted either of these corporations feel. They can
Prakhar's
go
real
fuck
name is
themselves.
Prakhar Warner.
Okay, but what they said in this email is what's changing? Nothing is changing today. Both streaming services will continue to operate separately. We have more steps to complete before the deal is closed, including regulatory and shareholder approvals. You'll hear from us when we have more to share. In the meantime, we hope you'll continue to enjoy watching as much as you want, whenever you want, all on your current membership plan, right? Now, this basically means nothing has happened today, but wait for it. We are going to do some changes, and this is what brought me to my topic, right?
I didn't
Uh,
receive any email.
what do you mean? It is like your email on
Whoever,
Netflix,
huh,
wherever you have Netflix
whoever
subscription, you
has the
must have received.
admin rights to Netflix, they'll get the
Ah,
email.
okay. Okay, I think my dad is.
Probably.
He doesn't give a fuck. He just wants to watch shows. So yeah.
Yeah, fair.
That
I
is
mean,
most people.
most people don't give a fuck. Yeah. The reason I am giving a fuck is because when I started off my career in finance, I used to work before I got the fuck out of it, right? I used to work in mergers and acquisitions. And that small part of my career taught me, well, one, that investment banking is a soul sucking monstrous thing, as a profession, but also that mergers and acquisitions are really terrible. They are not great for anybody other than the top brass that makes
Mm.
all of the money, right? So today we are going to talk about these large ass corporations getting into absolutely weird ass marriages because no amount of profit is good enough for them,
Okay,
and
we're calling it
how,
marriage.
or mergers, whatever. Uh, and
Same
how
difference.
these, yeah, in corporate language, same difference.
Fair.
And how these have the cases we are going to talk about, how these have led to people losing their jobs because of shaving out of all things, getting rid of like genuinely good beer, fully engineering the climate disaster we are in, and even directly causing people to die, right? So we talk about terrible, terrible mergers and acquisitions and their terrible, terrible impact on the world. But because I'm not a finance bro, hopefully you will not feel like killing yourself while listening to me talk, right? Okay, so we're going to start off with the very first merger. Now, their mergers and acquisitions have existed for a really long time, right?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
old ones like kingdoms and colonial entities like the East India Company, right? These are all mergers, right? And also banking mergers, which I found out while looking up information for this episode, go back as 1784, which I did not know. I did not know banking mergers were like
What was the first
banks.
banking merger?
Fuck knows. I have to look it up. Also, uh, first oldest banking merger or oldest merger is a very difficult thing to find
Mm-hmm.
because think of it when uh, some activity has started in the 18th century, right? It is the record of it is so difficult, and you did not have global records of anything, right? Like at the same point of time in different parts of a country, in different parts of the globe, things are going on,
Yeah.
and very little communication, real time communication exists. So it's impossible to track the oldest, right? But yeah, these years, they saw that. But they essentially took off in the late 19th century. So it was, and of course, it took off in US. It's called the Great Merger Movement in US, right?
GMM.
All
GMM.
right, GMM, shout out, not a sponsor. Okay. Prakhar, you know what we are talking about?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. I thought you forgot. Okay. Uh, so now all of these are, of course, there, but we are going to start with the OG of terrible, terrible mergers, which is any guesses? Like any, can you think of? I'll give you a hint. It's in the year 1999. So think of the mergers that happened in 90s and think of what are the most likely companies that would merge in the 90s.
Yeah, it could be either a banking institution or like someone like a Morgan Stanley or BlackRock or something to that effect,
It wasn't in the banking sector.
or it could be some a technology company. So probably like someone acquiring a Yahoo or a Google or something to that effect.
Prakar, do you want to guess? It's not even that.
Was
Come on,
it?
think of the most terrible companies. Like think of literally the worst people in the world. That's my theme.
Berkshire Hathaway,
No, ExxonMobil.
ExxonMobil. Okay. I
Oh,
mean, there are way too many terrible companies to think of. So that's,
Okay, arguably ExxonMobil has done or Exxon has done the biggest damage to the world.
yeah, no, fair. That's fair.
Yeah. So Exxon Mobil merger in 1999. For listeners, the same Exxon, friend of the pod, that has single handedly destroyed the planet, they predicted the climate change and they then did everything in its massive, massive power to perpetuate it. Right. So there are other mergers also that we are going to talk about. But it will follow the same pattern that we're going to discuss in Exxon. Exxon is, except going to be a little bit longer because Exxon Mobil has done terrible, terrible things, more terrible than most companies have done.
how do
They
you
are
spell? How do you spell it?
EXXON
Mm.
MOBIL,
Okay,
Exxon
okay.
Mobil. Right. So we're going to talk about the history of ExxonMobil as first as separate companies, then what happened when they came together, what were the consequences of the merger. We're going to talk about that and how they have continued damaging the world. So my biggest contention of any against any merger or acquisition that happens in such large setups is not just the monopoly part. It's not just that there is direct impact on job losses, on reducing competition. The antitrust parts are all there. But invariably, it takes a bigger toll on the terrible thing on it just accelerates the terrible things that they do already because suddenly they have so much more control to be able to do this. And indirect but the most terrible impact has always and always been on the rest of the planet, right? It no none of the owners, none of the high end people have ever suffered anything. It's always been the rest of the people. And even if you cannot directly see the impact of a merger on, say, the environmental damage that is being caused, you will see that the correlation is too big to ignore. That as companies merge their environmental damage, their social damage, that also continues compounding. And it's very normal, right? You put two terrible people together, they will become just a more terrible entity. It's not that they're going to cancel out each other's terribleness. They're just going to combine it and make it just a more horrible place. One of the examples that you two will relate to very well is that when we were working with the agency that we used to work with earlier, when there was only one person or two people to deal with, they were just simpler people to deal with, right? And then once the top brass started becoming friends and they started liking each other and they started, engaging with each other, because individually they were such incompetent little shits, but also vile little shits, together they just became like square, incompetent while little shit squared. Right? So, and now the agency is filing for bankruptcy, which is fully understandable. Like, I totally get it. I feel bad for the employees there. Lose their jobs, company executives said Wednesday. ExxonMobil Corp will cut almost 16,000 jobs, about 15% of its workforce, by the end of 2002, an increase from the 9,000 cuts estimated when the companies announced plans to merge a year ago. Right? 1999, 16,000 jobs is a lot.
Yeah.
Today also it's a lot.
Yeah,
Like
it's a lot. Yeah.
it's still a lot.
Yeah.
But at that point of time, like it's not like a 15% workforce is an insane amount of workforce. What do you think happened to the executives' pay?
Must have increased multifold. Like that's the easiest thing to guess.
It did increase. You'd think it remained at least out of saving face, it's remained the same. So I went back to their
No.
own. No fair. Yeah. How can I
When
expect
has that
half a
ever
decent?
happened?
That's true.
There is not even a single precedent to go on.
That's
So
true. That is very, very true.
Yeah.
And the way these guys disclose their filings, like I had to literally go to SEC filings, okay, and I will fucking show you. It is so annoying the way they file.
I think now is about a good time to throw in an ad here mid-roll.
Fair.
I know it's annoying for all of you, but it will help us out. So please bear with us and we'll see you on the other side. Welcome back to the episode. Back to you, Ashmita.
Okay, so I was going to show you the SEC filings and why it is so fucking annoying the way these guys do it. SEC filing of 255 pages, right? Nowhere else have they mentioned the execs, like job cuts. I see newspaper articles. How much did these fuckers make? Not a single newspaper article I could find, which is very annoying. Then there's filing. Now, filing, I understand they have a particular way of filing, but I want you to see how they do this. Just one executive compensation table that they put in over here. No other description, no other public declaration in the 103rd page of 255 pages, right? And if we compare the numbers, I'm not going to share any longer because it's a lot. But if we compare the numbers, we'll, of course, for listeners, we'll put up this link on if you want to see the rest of the assholes also, who
I'm pretty
continued
sure no
making more
one is
money.
interested in going through the entire SEC documentation.
Not the entire document, just page 103 of the SEC document. I went through it. Hey, so in 1998, pre-merger, L.R. Raymond, the then CEO and chairman of Exxon, was paid $1.9 million in salary. 1999. And $1.4 million in bonus and other incentives and stocks, etc., amounting to
What?
over 9 million. Yeah. But in cash in hand to him was 1.9 plus 1.4, right? Post merger,
But they've also documented the cash part.
cash as in
As a
not
okay,
black
okay.
one.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Right. Now, post merger, which was another SEC filing that I looked up. That is in 1999, Raymond took for himself $2.1 million in salary, and as compared to $1.4 million in bonus in the previous year, 14 fucking $1 million in bonus.
What?
And by the way,
What?
other incentives remain the same. 9 million it was last year, 9 million it was this year.
I think they forgot the dot in between.
Nope.
But they were still paying, even if they forgot.
Also,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, also they were not putting dots, they were putting zeros. So they put the commas and they put the zeros.
Yeah, then they must have moved a comma somewhere.
No, the
Added a
commas
zero and
I
moved a comma.
nope, commas add up, totals add up. I verified everything. Hey, so while 16,000 people lost their jobs, the CEO had a raise of over 500% on the already millions that he was making in fucking 1999. Right?
Damn.
And this wild increase in income pattern repeats for every single executive and continues till date, obviously.
So this guy's still alive?
It's Raymond, I don't know if he's alive.
Apparently, he needed that for his child's education. So let me let it be. It's fine.
Yeah. He wanted
Forgive
to
and
send it.
forget.
He wanted to send his child to India to study, huh?
Yeah.
So
So GD
expensive.
Goenka school.
The world, no, it was
Or
a
the
school.
or that Ambani wala school. I forgot the name. The
Ambani has a
international.
school also? Jesus
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Christ.
All the star kids go there.
You know that
All the
Hmm.
Bollywood stars, their kids study there.
must have
Fair.
been
They
that
don't really need an education.
must have been that university that says the world is here. Where are you?
That's Sharda. That is different.
Not Ambani. I wasn't taking names, but anyway,
Acha.
fine. If we're taking names,
No, we can. Okay, we always take name of corporations.
Public
Always.
institutions, I think it's fine.
Yeah.
Public institutions, you can take the name very
हाँ ठीक
freely.
है, ठीक है.
Yeah. Public institutions, their public, people. If we don't take names, I have no episodes from now on. Okay.
That is true. That is true. You know how hard Ashmita has to struggle to remember names?
Yeah. I always write it down. Okay.
It's a wonder she has any
Now,
episode in the first place.
they're notes. Okay, now the other strategic benefits, right? Of course, the climate change denial continued, just more funds could be used now for it, right? I think while discussing mergers and acquisitions, a lot of people don't talk about this. Again, B school sort of attitude that you don't talk about what about the benefits that occurred to them and the consequent damage that happened, like I mentioned at the top of the episode, right? That just multiplied because of the amount of money that they now have and the amount of market control that they now have. Why are we not talking about that, right? So that continued, right? So a little bit of a history of that. Exxon's team of scientists told them of climate change first in 1977, far before the merger, right? Obviously, Exxon ignored it. And if you know even a single CEO, this shouldn't be a surprise at all, right? Like it's very normal for them to do that. ExxonMobil then continued this denial, right? And I have read articles in between where literally the Rockefeller family begged them to consider. Remember, they were the OG founder. They begged them to understand that there was a massive, climate damage that was happening, and we are all going to die. But they ignored it, right? Because the power concentration is now fully fucked, right? And it was as late as 2014 that the company acknowledged the existence of climate change. Remember, the Paris Agreement was signed in 2016. So it was that late where we were already fucked. Okay. And then they threw in a very limited budget to research alternative sources while fully continuing to ramp up its main work of destroying the planet. Right. Now, a 2017 report found that ExxonMobil was the fifth largest producer of greenhouse gas emissions from 1998 to 2015. If you think that they have gotten better from 2015, think again, because in 2024 ExxonMobil sued their two of their own shareholders last year. They sued two of their own shareholders because the shareholders dared to to file a proposal, just a proposal, right, to ExxonMobil to please reduce their emissions a little bit. So they sued their shareholders. They were like, you're not allowed to interfere in the workings of the company. Then what the fuck are shareholders there for? How dare you be a public company and get all the benefits of the public company if you don't allow public, interjection into your functioning? That's not how it works. right? Also, oil spills continue pre and post merger, right? Another strategic benefit that ExxonMobil got was that it could ramp up its single plastic production, right? So I read a report in 2021.
You mean
I mean,
single-use plastic, right?
what did I say?
You said single plastic. So I'm
Single
just clarifying. Yeah,
single-use plastic. Yeah, single-use
yeah.
plastic.
Single plastic
If they
use.
only made one piece of plastic throughout their history, then that would be a bit of a surprise, no?
That would also be fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I read a report that was published in 2021 by the Plastic Waste Makers Index. They track of course, as the name suggests, plastic waste. And they published
No
a report
way.
in which this is becoming a thing now, Sandy. They published a report on which companies are the biggest contributors to plastic pollution. And guess which was the largest contributor? With 5.9 million metric tons to global plastic waste. That's how bad ExxonMobil is, right? Of course, another aspect, there's no strategic benefit to companies without human rights violations, right? Any company that has grown this big, they they have human rights violations as a history, right? So, and really fucked up things like in the late 1900s and early 2000s, ExxonMobil hired Indonesian military units to guard their gas field, one of the gas field called the Arun gas field, and these military units raided and razed local villages. So fucked up. Indonesia, poor country, has faced the consequences of a lot of mergers and acquisitions. It's going to come back again in another merger we are going to talk about, right? Then in 2022, Exxon's profits had doubled, but this was thanks to the drilling of oil in Russia while its attack on Ukraine continued, right? So while normal people were, again, same thing that you do against Israel, right? You you boycott, right? You boycott. You don't give economic benefits. While all of these normal people were saying we are not going to participate in Russia economically, ExxonMobil doubled its profit, right?
Yeah, I mean, everyone else was moving out, no? So they saw an opportunity. Business-wise, it makes sense if you look at it objectively.
Nothing should be looked at objectively without when
No, I know.
human beings are at
No, I
when
know.
people's lives are at stake, right?
But that
And
is
if
you
I
talking about Ashmita. You're not the CEO of ExxonMobil, right? You're not
correct,
the
correct,
board
and
member. Yeah.
yes, I don't think I have the ruthlessness to become the CEO of anything, or but again, I come back to this. It's the easiest fucking job in the world. You look at CEOs, every other job that I see people do, I'm like, this requires so much skill, right? It requires like a lot of knowledge. CEOs, easiest fucking job, easiest, like literally,
If there are any
literally.
CEOs out there who perchance mistakenly find their way to this episode, please reach out to us for a
Yeah,
one-on-one
tell us.
challenge with Ashmita,
Tell us what
and
you do.
I'd be intrigued.
Yeah, tell
Yeah.
us. Tell us what you do. If you're a CEO who's also a tech expert, your benefit, your expertise lies in the tech. CEO, just CEO, does not require any expertise. You're fucking idiots. But privileged and vile and disgusting. You just have to be a horrible human being, like scum of the earth, like bottom of the pond, that green thing that is there
Oh
below that,
God.
the worm that grows, that is a CEO.
Ashmita.
Anyway,
How do you really feel, Ashmita? I don't think it's been clear so far.
also, further human rights violations. ExxonMobil has one of the largest shares in the Caspian Pipeline Consortium. This pipeline consortium is the one that sent 600 kilotons of Russian crude oil since October 2023 to 24 to Israel. Okay. And ExxonMobil continues to be one of the largest suppliers of oil to Israel for its continued genocide on Gaza. Right?
Mm-hmm.
By the way, just last point on ExxonMobil. Remember how Standard Oil was split into 43 fucking companies because of controlling too much of the market through
Yeah.
vertical
Yeah.
integration?
Yeah.
ExxonMobil's operations are heavily vertically integrated. Full circle, we have come back. Yep.
Yeah,
That's
but
it.
So
that was the case. We discussed that previously also, no? Like Exxon, they had vertically integrated when during the merger with Mobil Oil anyway.
Exxon's was.
Huh.
Exxon was vertically integrated. When Exxon Mobil merger happened, oh, okay, context. When Exxon Mobil merger happened, any merger when it happens, when the board, like when the public companies trading board and all of those boards, when they give you the permission, of FTC gives you the permission, the trade commissions, they make you disinvest in certain things, right? Again, to maintain
Okay.
the competition, fair market competition, right? So they did that with ExxonMobil as well. But
Okay.
ExxonMobil came back and now is fully vertically integrated.
Nice. At least
Yep.
there's some hope. So that's good.
Hope.
Yes, hope.
That was one of the most terrible mergers. And if you think that's an outlier, you're again mistaken. Most mergers end up in terrible places, right? So there was I feel like this was one of the mergers wave so next we are going to talk about a merger wave that happened, not just one merger, right? And it was very directly damaging, right? Like directly led to people dying. And this was the US hospital merger wave in 2000s and to 2010s, late 1990s actually, to 2010s. And this, like US at this point of time, saw almost 1600 M&As, mergers and acquisitions of hospitals, to the base of like 5,000 hospitals at that point of time. So 1600 out of 5,000, like double it, like, double 1600, because at least two companies are merging, or at least two hospitals are merging. So almost all of them became part of networks, right? And by 2020, approximately 80% of the hospital markets in the US are highly concentrated. And this, I am quoting from this website called 1% Steps. 1% Steps is actually, I found them to be a very good source of information. These guys are an organization that sort of does this research and then assists or helps in policy changes that you can make, right? And they are US specific. So from there, I'm quoting that approximately 80% of the hospital markets in the US are highly concentrated according to criteria set out in the joint US Department of Justice, FTC, and their horizontal merger guidelines, right? That horizontal merger essentially is not the vertically integrated
Not
part, right?
vertical.
It is,
Yes.
yes. It is basically same business, but two companies coming together, right? So what what was the consequence of this merger wave? One, which was wild to me, honestly, was that hospitals started charging higher prices because there's lack of
Of
competition.
course.
You're a fucking
Yeah.
hospital, dude. It's insane. But and look
I
at
mean, is
the
it any surprise that all private hospitals are for profit? Is that any
yeah,
surprise by now? Yeah.
yeah,
So,
fair. You're right. Like I shouldn't be. I'm disgusted, but yeah, I shouldn't be surprised. Um, Now, US systems, right? It's nobody can afford to pay a hospital. Like you can't pay a hospital. So what is typically an insurance company will pay the hospital? Yeah. Now, when a hospital, increases its prices so much, that means it is charged. They are charging an insurance company so much, which in turn charges high as premiums from the people they are, insuring, right? The
customers,
insured,
they are
the
called
customer.
customers. Yes.
No, their customers are the companies. Complicated, a
Yeah,
little
no, I get
complex.
that. Yeah, yeah.
No, wait. Their customers are the companies that pay the health insurances for their employees. Correct? Because private health insurance is also unaffordable.
Okay.
Correct?
Yeah.
So those companies that then pay these high ass premiums, they then charge a higher deduction from the pays of their employees. So the ultimate beneficiary, who's the person who has to,
Their
get
employees
treated,
or their
they're employees, right? So, okay, how does the system work in US or in any country actually? But US, almost everything is this way. Is that, let's say I am an employee of a particular company. The company gives me as a benefit health insurance.
okay.
It's
Okay.
yeah. So because they have to pay high premiums to the insurance companies, they will charge more of a deductible from me, or they will reduce my cash income, right? Because at the end of the day, no matter what happens, the loser is always the bottom of the rung, right? And labor, even if you are mid management people, your labor, like you are labor, we are all labor, right?
Yeah, yeah.
That, so we are the ones who are going to suffer, and the worst of people are people who are going to make significantly lesser amount of money, right? Like people who are, I will get to this a little bit more, but essentially people who make over, in US, people who make over $100,000 don't have too much of a problem. People making less than that take a significant hit to their income, right? Then, of course, the very, very familiar devil of vertical integration, right? I'm again quoting from the same 1% steps article. It says there's been a steady increase in vertical integration between hospitals and physicians in the US. For example, from 2002 to 2008, Baker et al. This is basically a research done. They estimate that the share of physician practices in the US owned by hospitals more than doubled. There's a growing body of literature illustrating that physicians within hospital owned practices are more likely to refer patients for hospital based care. Obviously, right?
Yeah.
So the priority now becomes, even for physicians, to make more and more money from the patient, and patient care actually decreases, right? Which physicians usually wouldn't give a fuck about if there was no vertical integration, right?
Yeah.
And we have seen this repeatedly in India as well. Like doctors almost start acting like salespeople, and nobody likes salespeople, like even in the most innocuous things, right? Forget about patient care, right? And I have a couple of examples. Like there was a time in when my mother was admitted into the hospital at Max being one of the largest same conglomerates, right, in hospitals. And the doctor called me 15 times to sell me a particular vaccine when I had found an alternative of that vaccine, which I was going to get from outside, which was one third the cost, right? And the doctor kept telling me, no, beta, you don't understand. This is how it. I was like, I have fucking checked with three other doctors, dude. I don't trust you. Like, there's no reason for me to trust Max. But can you imagine being a doctor, spending 12 fucking years studying, having one of the most difficult professions in the world, and then becoming a salesperson that arguably requires zero qualifications? Like, what are you doing, friend? And don't get me wrong, salespeople also need skills, but not to the level of a doctor, right? So it's terrible. Then at Sandy, we saw this at an Apollo clinic. I saw a sheet where against every physician's name, the target revenue was written per day.
What? And why was it shared
Yeah.
with you? Like,
No, it wasn't. They were at the reception, and I was seeing there. And I'm
oh, okay.
I'm a curious person, so I just, or you can say I'm an
Intrusive.
interfering, intrusive person. So I just saw, and I was like, "Fuck, what is this?" And I continued seeing.
The
It
only
is,
the only explanation
yeah.
then they have is it's all business, you know.
It
Yeah,
That's
it
it is all
is.
yeah,
business at the end of the day.
yeah,
It is. It is all business, and the more you allow concentration of power, the worse it gets,
yeah, yeah.
right? I found another article on this article was published in the American Economy's Liberties Project. This particular organization works towards anti-monopoly, activities. Like they find out, they do exposés, and then they try
Expose.
and cut down on the anti-monopoly activities. So obviously mergers and acquisitions are heavily covered over there, right? And I'm going to quote from there. In 2019, HCA Healthcare, the country's largest hospital chain, bought non-profit hospital system Mission Health of Western North Carolina. Mission's CEO Ronald Paulus described the move as a tremendous win for the people and the communities that we serve. Right? The for-profit HCA has 185 hospitals and 1,800 clinics across the US and UK, and its $1.5 billion acquisition included facility improvements, expanded charity care, and protections for rural communities. This should have been the biggest red flag ever. Which for-profit company is buying out a non-profit for $1.5 billion? Have you seen companies give like 15 rupees increase in hourly income? Do you see how they behave? You think this happened? Anyway, the article continues. So they are now quoting the HCA, the for-profit healthcare company. Their CEO, Sam Hazen, when the deal closed, he said, "We are looking forward to investing in Western North Carolina and helping ensure Mission Health's 133-year of tradition for caring for communities throughout the region continues for many years." The article continues. However, nearly immediately after the buyout, Mission raised prices by 10%, started charging patients surprise fees, and reduced its staff and their pay. Every single department in that hospital that is designed to help the patient is critically and unethically and inhumanly understaffed, a nurse at the system's main hospital said during a public meeting in February 2020. Patients have reported longer wait times in the emergency room and their hospital beds without assistance and getting sick from unsanitary facilities. Hundreds of physicians have walked out, with one oncologist saying that previously Mission was run by primarily doctors and nurses, and now it's being run by businessmen. And the patient suffering is off their radar. Paulus, meanwhile, got a $4 million paycheck in his final year as Mission's chief executive overseeing the acquisition. 727% more than his starting salary 9 years prior. Right? By the way, this is also a familiar story, right? Run primarily by doctors and nurses and now run by businessmen. Boeing, primarily by engineers, as soon as MBAs came into the picture, gone.
Yeah.
Right? Because
Another
again,
reason why
MBAs.
you shouldn't do an MBA.
No, this is true. MBAs have no skill. We are not taught a skill, friend. We generally, the only benefit that you get out of going to a B school is the network that you build. Everybody sucks, like it's a mutual jerking off circle, right? And you attain that benefit out of each other. There is always going to be a case where we are going to get more benefit from our network of a job where there are arguably far better qualified candidates available outside of the network, but it's just easier. And one, it's easier hiring within the network. And second, quid pro quo. The benefit will come back to you. You just assume that, and it happens. Anybody who asks for help, they're just given help because it's going to come back. I wish they would extend this to people who actually need help, but a lot of people don't. Most people don't. Again, no specific skill taught, right? Especially nothing to do with like all of these things that have, critical thinking and system thinking involved. MBAs are taught, we have a class called critical thinking, and then we are fully expected to leave that critical thinking inside the class and go out. Okay? We don't carry it forward. That's not what we do. We run everything as a very simple balance sheet view. And that's not how anything in the world functions, right? So, yeah.
Unfortunately, we also have to look at our balance sheets. And to that effect, we need you to listen to this ad that's coming up. So we'll see you after the break. All right. Welcome back from the break. Back to you, Ashmita.
Okay. So we were talking about this US hospitals merger wave, right? Before I digressed into a rant. So we're going to come back to that, right? Now, the same story continues.
Like full points for
Execs.
self-awareness, by the way. Full points.
Execs, even of non-profits, right? They make an insane amount of money, and the workers and common people face exponentially increased suffering. In this case, literally dying. Like patients die,
Yeah.
right? And I was talking to you all about how marginalized communities suffer the most. So I'm going to link an article in the description as well, which is of Equitable Growth. It's Washington Center for Equitable Growth. It's a nonprofit research and grant making organization, right? And they have shown that in the US, hospital prices have grown more than any other industry in the US. And what I was telling you, that workers who were earning more than $100,000 annually, they did not see a job loss or anything, or decrease in employment, or pay cuts to a to an extent that would actually matter to them. While job losses were primarily concentrated amongst workers earning between 20,000 and 100,000 annually, right?
Mhm.
Because you think objectively, right? You think, if I want to reduce cost, why don't I chuck out one guy from the top management who anyway doesn't do much, right? Instead of chucking out like one $8 million guy, if he goes, okay, I can retain 20,000 people. That's not how people work. That's not how businesses work. That's not how capitalism works. That's not how free market works, right? And that's not how rich people work. So, wealthiest people don't have any consequences. The burden of increase squarely falls upon lower and middle income workers, right? As soon as you cross a certain threshold, no consequences, right? With hospitals, that has continued. Everywhere you see a merger, everywhere you see larger conglomerates, insurance companies do well. Top brass of merged hospitals do well. Top brass of insurance companies do well. And also the top brass of the companies that have to provide health insurance to their employees continue doing well. No impact. Eh, Everybody else loses, right? So, yay, capitalism, right?
Yeah, yeah. Big fan.
Yeah.
Big fan. Yep. Next, Procter and Gamble and Gillette in 2005, right? Now, this was a large ass merger. I feel like for no fucking reason apart from, like, everybody tries to justify the merger of some strategic benefit apart from just very clearly you just want to make more money, you fucktard. But
I
no.
heard on the grapevine that Gillette was the best they could get for
Oh my
acquisition.
God.
The best a man can get. A man can get.
Oh, this is
Yeah, yeah.
also really, this is fantastic. Okay, so I'll talk about the man and woman thing also, right? Because that was another justification. So P&G announced obviously that it would acquire 100% of Gillette in a stock deal valued at about $57 billion. Okay, the largest acquisition in P&G's history, and P&G was always acquiring. After a certain point, that's how anybody can grow, right? And which is also why I feel that there should be a cap. Anything that grows to a healthy level, there's a
Mhm.
cap. Unhealthy growth is literally cancer. Nothing else grows, exponentially, unlimitedly, forever except cancer, which kills you. So
Yeah.
there should be a cap. And it is impossible growing without mergers and acquisitions after a certain point of time. It's just not possible. You can't, you do not, we do not have that kind of capacity in the world, right? So anyway, this was at that point of time P&G's biggest acquisition forever, and also one of the biggest US mergers at this point of time, right? The analysis that was done, and I love financial analysis, okay, that people do. Financial journalists that call themselves journalists but actually do not have the time to really find out a lot about, like, do actual journalism, because you can only suck dick or look somewhere else. You can't suck dick and look for information, right? It is physically impossible, right? You have a cock in your mouth. You can't, it's not possible, right? So these people who, and financial
Can you just do
journalists.
that again, Ashmita? I think your network went out. For those who might have missed it the first time around, maybe they'd like to watch this specifically on YouTube again, once again.
No. So these so-called journalists, who obviously were not doing any journalism, they were just regurgitate what
Regurgitating.
regurgitating
Yes.
regurgitating everything that PNG was telling them. Their justification was wild. So I was reading, it was saying now PNG produced at that point of time only personal and home care products, like, right, like shampoo, diaper, laundry detergents, etc. And because despite being in the 21st century, fathers were considered, or still were, deadbeat, these products were considered primarily to be marketed to women. Like, literally,
Mm,
analysis says that. Shampoo,
yeah.
you guys don't use
Yeah.
shampoo? Do you not need to change your child's diaper? Do you never put your laundry in the washing machine and put laundry detergent over it? I don't know. Hey, and Gillette, it manufactured razors.
Yeah.
Fair at that point of time. Although in 2005, women were using razors because the industry that catered to that had already sold this idea to us. But also batteries and all, which we all know only men use. Like, their market was considered primarily men. That was the main justification of merger. That PNG caters to women, and
Wait,
Gillette
Gillette
sells.
made batteries? I was not
Yeah,
aware of that.
yeah. Gillette made batteries.
Yeah. I had no
Hmm.
idea.
Never heard of it.
This
Yeah.
they
Like
still do?
batteries. PNG does now. It acquired
Ah, okay. So the Gillette company was the parent company of Duracell for some time.
Duracell.
That's probably
Hmm.
why batteries. Yeah, because I've never heard of Gillette batteries.
Hmm.
No, the brand name is always going to be different. Like PNG's,
Yeah,
every single, nothing, PNG doesn't sell anything with PNG, right? It sells with all the different brand names.
yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, I'm quoting from this article of PBS, hey, where Gillette chief executive James Kilts said this about the upcoming acquisition in
What does he do?
2005.
He kills? What?
Kilts, Kilts.
Acha. Okay.
Jesus. And
Was he Scottish by any chance?
fuck knows.
Okay.
I think a Scottish person being named Kilts would be too on the nose. No, that would just be.
Like it will be like an Indian person named Sari, you know? Yeah.
Anyway, so he said this about the upcoming acquisition in 2005. So this was an interview before that. He said, we believe we can bring these companies together and create a juggernaut, right? Now, fun fact, juggernaut does refer to large, unstoppable force, but its
Yeah.
use has always been to showcase something that is merciless and massively destructive. So Kills was not lying. Kills PNG did live up to this expectation fully, even though that's not what Kills was intending to say, right? And of course, the executives pitched this as capturing synergies and getting strategic benefits.
Mm-hmm.
Anytime you
Yep.
read synergies as something that.
Consultant, consultant,
Hmm.
100%.
Absolutely, absolutely. And
Yeah.
as we know, they also don't know much. So it is, like, again, a very easy job, a very, very easy job. Like, it's not, it doesn't require you to be an expert on anything. What a fucking wonderful life, right? Obviously, this was code for, we are going to pocket a shit ton of money and ensure that you can't possibly, like, we common people can't possibly function in life without them, while letting go of thousands of employees, right?
Mm-hmm.
They they are one of the largest, uh, arguably the largest apart from Unilever now, controlling the home and personal care market, right? You can't pick up a brand without it being one of these two fuckers, right?
Yeah.
Now, first direct problem that came in, just anti-competitive pricing, right? Reducing competition that makes daily products insanely expensive, right? I mean, if you take out smaller players who can give you a benefit of, say, choice of products that you can use that is going to be, better but cheaper, or made more ethically, etc. All of these are gone. There's no way they're going to survive, right? And if you thought that because of the nice ads on how men shouldn't be toxic, or them supporting same-sex marriage, or even continuing, like P&G continued its DEI policies despite Trump, right? If you thought all these things made them unwilling to do shitty things like form a cartel to restrict companies with better and or cheaper products to come into the market, again, you're mistaken, right? And I am
Literally, no one was thinking that, Ashmita. You just out to prove everyone is wrong, but literally no one was thinking that.
I'm not out to prove. I think there are terrible people within certain industries, and the likelihood of terrible people in certain industries is significantly higher than some other industries. So I'm quoting from, I have taken this information, I'm not directly quoting, from a BBC article that talked about this cartel, right? It was a fun cartel. Uh, in 2011, P&G and another giant, Unilever, they were fined $456 million for for fixing washing powder prices in 8 European countries. Hey, literally like fixing prices, that you don't cut me, I don't cut you. We are going to spend, we are going to sell at this rate, right? And out of this $456 million, P&G was fined the larger, not the larger chunk, like half of it, which is 211.2 million euros. It just keeps getting more ridiculous. The fines were later discounted by 10% because the two
Wow.
companies admitted running a cartel. So basically, it was Unilever, P&G, and actually Henkel. Henkel is another brand that all make washing powders, right? And they're the three
Yeah.
largest players. So they came together and formed the lamest cartel of all time. Like literally the absolutely stupidest cartel for washing powder. Okay? And they ensured that they wouldn't have competing prices, and they would create artificial shortages so that all three of them could rake up their prices and benefit, standard cartel things. Henkel was, for some reason, dissatisfied. Henkel was like, I don't know what happened, but Henkel came out and tipped off the European Commission. And as a reward, Henkel didn't attract any fines. So fine was paid by, after 10% discount, by only P&G and Unilever. This is such a ridiculous case. I cannot. I don't know what to think of this case, honestly. Again, when you have so much concentrated power, it's so much easier forming a cartel with two companies, right? Versus trying to form a cartel with like 15 different players. It's impossible, right? And that's why it's so much easier to break down, cartels than it is to break down like companies with vertical integration and everything. So because there are whistleblowers, a lot of things are lesser control, the better it is for the world, right? Also, PNG hasn't hesitated in the slightest to sue people for apparent patent right infringement to prevent smaller competition from gaining ground, right? And they have done this multiple times, but I'm going to talk about a particular case against Dollar Shave Club. You guys remember Dollar Shave Club?
Why do I
Mm,
vaguely remember this? Where have I heard of
Yes.
this?
Yes, it was in 2012 this was founded, and it became quite a popular thing. They introduced razors as a subscription model. Yeah. $1 subscription. So Dollar Shave Club. And you might
Oh.
also remember their ads where the founder came to the, like before Slack got into doing this, founder led ads, like founder coming on screen and making fun of themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Dollar Shave Club started it. So they were quite a cool company, right? They started off in 2012 and they're just starting to gain market share, right? Still single digit market share compared to the behemoth that was Gillette,
Mm-hmm.
right? But Gillette and its parent company, P&G, were petty.
Mm-hmm.
And also they saw that their higher price razors, their sale fell,
Hmm.
while Dollar Shave Club's sales were growing. Again, not nearly at the same
Hmm.
level as Gillette's, but P&G is petty, right? And they were fully assholes. So they filed a suit against Dollar Shave Company in December 2015, saying that the Dollar Shave Club, not Dollar Shave Company, saying that they were infringing a patent of Gillette for a particular razor with a particular coating, right? And they quoted that patent. Gillette used to do this to
Hmm.
keep prices up. They would keep filing patent after patent after patent. And many of them had like replications from previous patents. And because they were so powerful, they kept getting it,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Gillette asked for damages and an injunction to stop sales of the so called infringing blades in the US, right? Obviously, Dollar Shave Club was like, fuck off, this is not, we are not doing that. And in Feb 2016, they filed a countersuit, basically suing Gillette, saying that their patent was not valid only. And they proved it. And there were other people, there were people from like different, you know, parts of the, like outside analysis that also proved this, right? And it would have been interesting to see where this led. But in July 2016, Unilever acquired Dollar Shave Club. And P&G
Mhm.
and Unilever settled the case. Okay, I don't know, maybe the cartel nostalgia kicked in. I don't know why they did that. Or maybe, they were now fighting against a giant, and giants don't want to fight each other. They only want to fight smaller people,
I think
right?
this is what they
Yep.
do, right? They file like they press charges, and then the other company, they can't afford to, what do you
Keep it
call?
going.
Yeah, so
Yep.
they have to undersell their brand. That's how they
Yeah.
do it,
Yeah.
because they can, the other brand they can afford and these guys can't. So they
Yeah.
have to undersell it.
So yeah, eventually Gillette just continued selling overpriced prices. Unilever completely destroyed Dollar Shave Club, made it into a boring ass brand from this brand that was actually doing something interesting. And then in 2023, it sold it to a PE firm, private equity firm. And overall, nothing good came out of this mess. Like literally, mergers, acquisitions, nothing good after that, right? At the top of the episode, I had told you guys that I'm going to talk about the extended damage as well, right? Which is the environmental damage that companies have. One we talked about in ExxonMobil. Of course, PNG also continued. And in general, PNG has been quite a large contributor to environmental damage. Okay. But it has only increased like
Hmm.
significantly after the merger, right? Or after their numerous, every acquisition just provides them more and more funds, more and more capacity and market control to continue doing such shitty things, right? And I want to talk about one very specific investigative report that was released in 2021. Okay, because I thought the timing was amazing. The release of the report coincided with the time when PNG was sponsoring and speaking at the Climate Week in New York. It's a massive event, right? Which is
It
what
was a
these
whole
companies
week.
do.
Must have been massive.
Which is what all these fuck all companies do this. There's a huge event that is going on in the sustainability space, right? In sustainability in fashion and textiles,
Hmm.
right? Guess who's sponsoring it? Guess who's the largest moderator plus sponsor?
I don't know, Zara or uh,
India
Irvin
specific.
Mills.
Reliance.
Huh, okay.
The same Reliance that brought Shein to India. So
Yeah.
I keep, by the way, I keep getting ads of Shein on my shitty games that I play on my phone. And at the same time, I keep getting ads of this conference where Reliance fully says that it's environmentally, conscious.
Didn't Sheen
So
got
these
banned
assholes,
or they exited the
nope,
Indian market?
they did not make nearly as much money as they thought they would, right?
Yeah.
The branch didn't. But that's the thing about all of these asshole corporations. They can afford to stick around, keep putting in money on terrible products till the time they start seeing results. They can wait, right? That's also why they shouldn't be allowed, but here we are, right? So these guys, the organization called Stand Earth, they did an investigative journalism company, and they did this report. And this, I will put the link to the full report for the listeners/viewers, but I want to talk about it a little bit. Now, the investigation showed how PNG was destroying and degrading primary forests and intact forest landscapes through deforestation, mostly because they were making fucking toilet paper and tissue products from endangered forests and threatened species habitat. Like, it's why it's amazing, okay?
It must be
And
soft
because
on the ass, no? But if you're especially wiping it dry like the Westerners do, so
yes, just
I
like your ass is not worth is not worth degrading intact forest landscapes and threatened species.
tell it to the
Like, we
people
are
whose ass is getting degraded.
use water. So much of white people problem could be solved by using water. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway,
That's a separate debate.
because because they couldn't reduce forest fiber from these products, from toilet paper and tissue paper, their obvious conclusion was greenwashing, right? They made a commitment to reach net zero by 2040, but the fine print said that the net zero climate targets exclude emissions from its tissue and paper towel products. So,
Mm-hmm.
the one that is contributing most carbon emissions, except that we will reach the scam that is net zero. Okay. It also this report showed multiple human rights violations by its suppliers in the region of fiber and palm oil sourcing, right? So the suppliers to PNG, right? Such as poor Indonesia again, seizing land from local communities in Indonesia to fell trees to make toilet paper and tissues, right? Forced labor and human trafficking in Malaysia, like absolutely horrifying, hard reads, right? Like really, they were really terrible. In fact, I had to stop halfway, right? And PNG refused to meet any community to address these issues, much less disengage with the suppliers that were doing this. And there is a group of people that argue that this is the suppliers that are doing it. What can these companies do? They can stop buying from these suppliers because none of this is news. None of this is
Mm-hmm.
hidden. There are small ass companies that are choosing better ways of production. I am sure PNG can. And because PNG has such a large control over such a massive amount that they buy from them, many of these suppliers sustain only and only because of PNG. PNG can very clearly say, if you don't sort this out, I am out. What are the suppliers going to do? It is directly the fault of PNG. Also, to a large extent, suppliers, especially suppliers who are dependent on a particular company, they behave exactly the way the company wants them to,
Ah, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
right? So
Yeah.
to a large extent, it's PNG governing this, right? And we have been
Yep.
in the service industry, right? Like, you can take that shitty ass ad campaign that we did of driving or of drinking responsibly, and you can absolutely say that we were the one who did the shitty ass campaign. But we know that the client took it and changed everything and did the shitty ass campaign on their own. They did not listen to a single thing we were telling them, right? And that's the restriction you have when you are dependent on a particular giant, right? So I wouldn't even put the entire blame on the suppliers. I would put a larger part of the blame on PNG, right? PNG again has also been putting threatened and endangered species at risk in Canada. The species over there show about that they need, like these are some deer species, and it shows that it needs 65% range
Every
habitat.
species is deer, Ashmita. You can't just do that. That only that particular species in Canada is deer.
It's now Sandy's
Every
thing.
DEER,
species, every living thing is deer,
It's now
Ashmita.
Sandy's thing.
yeah, completely. DEER, deer species, they need 65% range habitat intactness in order to have a chance of survival in the long run. And majority of the herds are on a trajectory of decline. PNG continues to deforest in these
ये
areas.
कब के numbers हैं? Like this is recent or this is
Yeah, it
when
was
did this
this
rethink?
this report was in 2021.
Okay.
So 5 years back, 4 years back, but
Yeah.
I'm sure it has gotten only worse because
Hmm.
there's been no change in PNG's working, right? They still carry on this way, right?
No, I'm just
Now,
trying to draw parallels what is happening in India right now. The same thing is happening in India.
exactly,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And even
exactly.
yeah, and on such a large scale, this one corporation Adani is doing so much damage.
Yep,
Either you take take lessons from the past and you do better than what they did, but even if it's recent, people are not learning, they're just doing the complete opposite of what needs to be done.
The biggest learning I think anyone takes from such things is that these people got away with that, so we can also get away with by doing
Yeah,
exactly,
this. That
yeah,
is
yeah.
the biggest
exactly.
takeaway.
They are still terrible people. You're right, Prakhar. It is exactly the same thing, and you see this pattern follow literally everywhere, right? There's also an overlap of people, like the terrible people in power. They kind of move around with terrible companies a lot. So, in this particular case, Stand Earth, the organization that conducted this investigation, and a bunch of other organizations, they came together to demand that along with setting things right, two people should primarily be chucked out from their board of directors. And these
Mhm.
two people from PNG's board of directors, and these two people were Angela Brayley and James McNerney. Angela Brayley was the chairperson of PNG's Governance and Public Responsible Committee since 2009. Obviously, not doing any governance or nor fulfilling any public responsibility.
Mm.
And since 2016, she had also served on Guess Which board. Another
Meta,
terrible Nope, nope, no, 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 no. We are not involving tech here.
Exxon.
Yes. Since
Yeah.
2016, she had also served on ExxonMobil's board, and until 2020, she was the chair of ExxonMobil's Public Issues and Contributions Committee. She's still on
Mhm.
the board of ExxonMobil, as I could see from her LinkedIn. So, nice lady. They asked her to chuck her out, one. Second, James McNerney, who had been PNG's lead director since 2003. Now, PNG is a publicly listed company.
Hmm.
It's you can't have the same fucking director from 2003 to 2021. Oh, by the way, he's also the former chair, president, and CEO of guess which company? Not ExxonMobil this
Exxon.
time. Nope.
Sta-
Another
BP.
another terrible. Not oil and gas.
Chevron.
oh,
So
not
you need
in
to give
gas.
these clues
Ah.
before we start guessing. No, not after we
Yes,
start
okay.
guessing.
Okay, not oil and gas.
And not tech also.
Not tech.
Who will tell that?
I told you earlier that there is no tech involved in this episode.
Warner Brothers.
Boeing,
Oh,
Okay.
right? And he oversaw the development of Boeing 737 Max.
of course.
Mm-hmm.
Of
Right?
course.
You know the airplane that single-handedly is responsible for putting serious doubt on the claim that you're more likely to die in a car crash than in a plane crash. That airplane. right? So James McNerney also amazing guy, okay? And obviously the organizations came together and demanded these two to be checked out. They continue thriving in their careers. McNerney did not put up his name for election as a director again, as a lead director after 2021. We'll see what happens. It's still quite recent, right? So basically, as PNG grew bigger, it became worse. And any company that joined it also became worse, right? And that's a trend, right?
I wonder, for a
Yeah.
company to be nice, they shouldn't grow, right?
For anything to be nice, for
Yeah.
anything to be good for the world, to be good for the people, you cannot grow unlimitedly. It doesn't exist.
Where do you put a stop? Where do you have like a limit?
When you move on to extraction, let's talk about growing crops, right? Basic. I am growing, let's say I have a wheat field and I'm growing wheat crops, right? Healthy growth of crops would mean there would be a crop circulation.
Yeah.
There would be, you know, at nature's pace. There is a certain amount that the land allows me to grow without eroding the layer of soil, right? Without destroying the natural cycle that it follows so that the soil remains healthy. And as soon as you start farming, you know that. Why? Because as a farmer, you have skills of farming. As a CEO, you don't have any skills. So you don't know when to stop, right? But any normal, decently skilled person, anybody who has the simplest awareness of things and is able to do things, there is only a certain amount I'll be able to grow. How do I then move beyond that? I start forcing the land to produce that. British did this. They removed all of our other crops, forced us to plant only and only indigo. What happened? We literally had drought and famine, right? So there are several indications that your own field will give you, and if you have the skills necessary for doing that particular job, you will be able to identify it. So and I challenge, this is an open challenge, I challenge anybody to show me why a business needs unnatural growth beyond, let's talk about beyond inflation. It's an open challenge. Okay.
If anyone wants to take Ashmita up on that challenge, please do write to us at don'tknowdocare1@gmail.com. The one is numerical. Or you could reach out to us on Instagram at DKDC Podcast. If you're writing a mail, just put it in the subject header, challenge to Ashmita, and
Sure.
we'll take you up on that offer. I
Sure.
sincerely hope someone does.
Yeah, so do I. It'll be fun.
Yeah.
Okay. Now I'm going to talk about the last one, the last merger, which is finally our favorite beer guys, right? We're going to talk about AB and Bev and Sab Miller, their merger in 2016, right? Now, in 2016, AB and Bev, which is a Belgian Brazilian giant, right? They own Budweiser, Corona. You know AB and Bev.
Yeah.
It announced its takeover of Sab Miller, at that time, world's second largest brewing company and one of the largest bottlers of like one of the world's largest bottlers of Coca-Cola, right? So two giants of this industry. And ABN Bev was taking over Sab Miller, Miller Lite, Miller Coors, all of these guys, all of this was Sab Miller. In October 2015, they announced this, and the deal was announced for more than $100 billion, the largest beer deal ever, and the third largest M&A globally at that point of time in 2016. Okay. Obviously, one of the first things they did was to announce around 6,000 layoffs. Now, we have talked about other layoffs being 16,000 and also 6,000 might seem smaller. In the alcobev industry, beer industry, this was the largest by then, right? That was just inside the corporate. But the harm went much, much further out, right? Now, one of the things that obviously any beer company would need is going to be breweries, right? There are a lot of breweries that produce beer, that brew beer specifically for one or two companies, right? Again, larger suppliers sort of things, right? Now, I'm going to talk about a specific case of the Eden Brewery. So before the merger, Miller Coors, which was about 50% plus Sab Miller owned, used to run a brewery in a small town called Eden in North Carolina, USA, right? On September 14th, 2015, just like 2 days before the merger talks were announced, the Sab Miller announced that it would shut down this brewery by September 2016. So in another year, right? They cited a decade of declining US beer sales down by 0.22% in 2015 and their excess capacity. So a couple of millions, I think million bottle production per year was exceeding the capacity. The amount particularly doesn't matter because it was not making as much beer as it was selling in the market. So that's a very fair aspect. But also, you are not able to sell your beer, but you are also buying out smaller beer companies, so they are not able to get anything brewed, right? And it's essentially destroying the competition completely, right? And in process, genuinely good beer, right? So AB Bev was already by this time known for its ruthless cost cutting and, of course, vertical integration, right? And so I am not alone in assuming that the merger had something to do with this announcement of closing down Eden Brewery, right? Conjecture, but a lot of people have alluded to it, and it's fully believable to me, right? And despite lawsuits against this closure, the Eden Brewery was shut down and 500 plus people lost their livelihoods. Again, sounds very little, but you have to look at it in context, right? So I'm going to read this out from an article in the Atlantic titled "Downsides of Efficiency," right? And the author, she talks about the impact on the entire community and how it is so dire in smaller towns, because a town that has a brewery, a small town like Eden that has a brewery, the whole town is governed by the brewery. The whole town's dependencies on the brewery, right? In fact, schools funding, okay, like they come from people who run those breweries, right? A lot of social public park construction, etc. The contribution is there from that main organization, which is the brewery. Like local communities are built, right? So this community suffered a lot. And she talks about after the brewery shut down. She says, the main street of Eden is full of shuttered stores and empty buildings, and a nearby commercial strip features chain restaurants and stores like McDonald's and Radio Shack. It's just gotten worse and worse. Randy Robinson, a 34-year-old who occasionally works as a house painter, told me in the aisle of the local Walmart, where he was calculating how many packs of ramen could he buy with the sparse dollars in his pocket. The only option you've got here now is to struggle. The closures have led some workers to wonder if the government should have stepped in. I'm not a big government regulation guy. Steve Money, a brewery worker, told me. But you can't have a whole country of businesses that give no weight to community impact at all. Right? The article continues. In the aftermath of the announcement about the closure, local elected officials pushed back against the merger between InBev and Sab Miller. Most of them were Republicans who usually want government to stay out of the market. The article continues. Senator Tom Tillis of North Carolina and other state and local representatives wrote a letter to the Senate's Antitrust, Competition Policy and Consumer Rights Subcommittee. This merger should not proceed until the people of Rockingham County and all of North Carolina receives the answer they deserve, and until reasonable steps are taken to protect these jobs, the letter said. But the merger went through. The two companies were able to prove that by combining, they would be better able to provide their product to consumers in America and abroad. The deal was supposedly good for America as a whole. It certainly was not good for this small community in North Carolina.
Mhm.
right? It's a heartbreaking article,
Mm.
right? It's quite depressing. And considering the condition of the industry going forward from 2016, it was not good for anybody except for Sab Miller and AB InBev
Mhm.
and the top brass of these two companies, not even for like their whole companies, right? Not for the employees, right? So mergers and acquisitions in general, terrible. Terrible, terrible ideas because they provide for unlimited growth. There should be a much stronger check on these than it exists today. I don't understand why we still allow it, but here we are. So, what happens with Netflix acquiring Warner Brothers? We don't know. We don't know really, but don't be surprised if you see like if you end up paying more subscription if you're charged, I don't
That is
know,
bound to
ad
come.
version.
Yeah.
Yeah. And plus 150 fucking more DC movies that nobody asked for, right? Like all of
Yeah.
these are going to happen. It's not going to be great.
We trust you,
Let's move
Ashmita.
on from only mergers in the building and talk about your recommendation of the week, Ashmita.
Okay. So, recommendation of the week, I
Wait, wait,
have,
wait, wait, wait.
yeah.
That was good, Sandy.
I know.
Yeah.
We have to
Okay.
acknowledge that. Very
Yeah,
nice.
yeah, yeah. Sunday is good at this.
Yeah, yeah.
Recommendation time.
I had recommendations, but it was so unfortunately off Netflix only that I'm going to not that I'm not
Ta-dum.
that I'm not going to provide that. But I have an anti-recommendation, okay, which is
Hmm.
also in Netflix, which is fantastic, which fits the mood I have of the episode. It is this show called Delhi Crime. Oh my God.
Hmm.
Why is it so well rated? Okay. For those of you who are aware, and those of you, I hope you're old enough to remember, 2012 uh, Nirbhaya rape case. It was a horrible rape in Delhi, like one of the worst that we had seen in an urban city. Horrible rape cases continue to happen across the country anyway, but at that really generated a lot of
Yeah.
a lot of backlash. Now, in this show, by the way, the actual part was that the police were extremely incompetent, the laws were extremely slow, and because people were completely out on the streets, up in arms almost, the government had to do things and they had to speed up a lot of things. Police, as usual, were terrible.
Yeah.
Like you know how and this is a pattern. Like police in real life, the bus in which the girl was raped and the guy was beaten up, that bus crossed 6 checkpoints, police checkpoints,
Hmm.
right? And they were not stopped. And it was brutal. The girl died, by the way, in hospital after that. In the show, they show that the it did happen, but there were exceptions of incompetent people, and the DCP was actually a very competent person. Did
Hmm.
not happen, guys. I hate that. I hate that narrative. And in all fiction shows, you're like, "Ooh, we found this 10th." Like, I saw this one nail sticking out of a bus and I realized that there was blood underneath. And in real life, police is like, people are calling police 10 times and they're like, this guy is I am seeing this guy rape a person in front of me, and police is like, yeah, we'll think of coming. you
See,
know,
this is also
so
because the show was made on the basis of the reports that the police submitted. So of course the
how
police
dumb.
will, yeah, because the police will of course not show that they were incompetent, right?
Yeah, but also
Yeah.
how dumb is the showmaker? Like, what was the fucking point?
More
To,
than the showmaker, I think we should be blaming the audiences for that because they
Yeah.
are the ones who are readily lapping it up.
it's so
So
bad, right?
Yeah.
It's so bad.
if
The
there is not
acting
an
is
audience,
good.
then the show would not have gotten, would not be getting the
Yeah.
ratings that it has
Yeah,
gotten so
they
far.
are on their third season, by the way, so it's growing.
Yeah. Why do you
Yeah, it
think they're
is
coming
growing.
back time and time again? Because they have a ready-made audience for that.
Yeah.
If any of you are finding it on IMDb and then going ahead and watching this, please don't. It is a terrible show. They have completely distorted the facts. It is insulting to what to the kids, their families, kids, I say kids, they were 20 something year olds, like very young guys, right? Like the girl and the guy. The girl was raped and tortured, and she died eventually. The people who did it had no remorse. The police, by the way, attacked protesters. It was a bad scene. And the police behaved really badly with protesters across the country. And this was Delhi. Forget about what happened in the Northeast and all of these places where also the protests spread, right? So, and in the show, they completely show protesters as just this random sideline and they are disturbing the police. Completely the opposite thing happened. The police was doing nothing until the protesters absolutely said, "We will take your head for this." And that's when there was pressure from the top to actually accelerate what they were doing and get these guys going. So police was ineffective. They were useless. The show has completely whitewashed all of that. I watched the first few episodes and I kept hoping that maybe they will start making a lot of sense, but they didn't. So don't watch it. That's my anti-recommendation for the week.
So that's the end of our episode. And on that depressing note, we'll be taking your leave. Up until next time, please take care. Bye bye.